for pre-need funerals, burials, or cremations. Since the mid-70s, it's Curtis & Son Funeral Home. At Curtis & Son Funeral Home, they care about you and your families. They have proven it year after year after year after year. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the leader in funerals in this area, and there are many, many reasons for that. You got a lot of people that work there that's been there a long, long time. You know them. You trust them. It's Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. In obituary news this morning, Mr. James Stone died September 13th at his residence in Sycamore. Mr. James Stone died September 13th. Funeral arrangement to be announced by Community Funeral Home. Effie Jones, age 86. Funeral service for Miss Jones will be visitation on Friday from noon until 2 at Vincent Revival Center. Funeral service beginning at 2 in the sanctuary of Vincent Revival Center. Burial in the Vincent City Cemetery. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel directing. Annie Neely died at Coosa Valley Medical Center on Monday. Curtis & Son Funeral Home announcing. Mr. Dewey Knox died at his residence in Center Point Acres in Sylacauga on Tuesday. Curtis & Son Funeral Home announcing. Funeral service for Mrs. Peggy Floyd will be Friday, September 18th at 2 p.m. from the Sanctuary Church on Highway 280. Reverend Freddie Edwards officiating. Visitation is Thursday evening at Curtis & Son North from 5 until 7. Peggy was a devoted member of the Sanctuary Church. She was a member of the Winterboro High School class of 1960. As an expression of sympathy, memorial contribution can be directed to the Sanctuary Church, P.O. Box 853, Sylacauga 35150. Online condolences at curtisonfh.com. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing. Florence Jeanette Dowdy, age 82 of Sylacauga, died September 13th at her residence. Funeral service is this afternoon at 2 p.m. from Curtis & Son North, with Kenneth Sinclair officiating. Burial in the Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing that service. In other obituary news this morning, Michael Chad Carroll, age 41 of Fort Payne, died September 10th. The family will receive friends Saturday, September 19th from 2 until 3 at Talladega Funeral Home Chapel. A memorial service will follow at 3 in the chapel. Talladega Funeral Home directing. Celebration of life for Mr. Fernandez Cook, age 52, is today at 11 a.m. from Pine Grove Missionary Baptist Church Cemetery in Sylacauga. Reverend Clifton Cook officiating. Community Funeral Home directing. Online condolences at communityfuneralhome.org. Memorial service for Mrs. Lavola Ann Cook Holsclaw, age 58, is also today at 11 a.m. from New Hope Baptist Church Cemetery in Sylacauga, with Reverend Bobby Harris officiating. Ms. Holsclaw died Thursday, September 1st at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Community Funeral Home in charge of the arrangements. Earl J. Jones, age 87 of Talladega, died at Citizens BMC September 10th. Visitation will be at Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega today from noon until 1:30. The graveside service at 2 o'clock from Pine Hill Memorial Park in Talladega. In lieu of flowers, a family asset donation will be made in honor of Mr. Jones, made to the Wounded Warrior Project, or Toys for Tots. Online condolences at urseryfuneralhome.com. Ursery Funeral Home, Talladega directing. Funeral arrangements for Mr. Charles Edward Wallace, age 66, will be announced at a later date by S.M. Goodson Funeral Home in Talladega. Mr. Wallace died September 13th. Graveside service for Mr. Willie James Jackson is 11 o'clock Saturday at New Life Memorial Gardens. In the event of clement weather, the service will be held at Wright's Funeral Home Chapel. Mr. Jackson died September 12th at Russell Medical Center. Visitation at the funeral home on Friday from 4 until 6, Wrights Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Mrs. Flora Mae Graham is 1 o'clock Thursday at Friendship Baptist Church with interment in the church cemetery. Ms. Graham died Sunday, September 13th at East Alabama Medical Center. Visitation is tonight, 5 until 7 at the funeral home. Wrights Funeral Home directing. Mr. James Slaughter died September 9th at Lineville Healthcare and Rehab. Wrights Funeral Home in Alexander City, announcing the arrangements. Mr. Jordan Holly, formerly of Alexander City, died September 15th at Jackson Hospital in Marianna, Florida. Wrights Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Mr. Jewel Dwayne McDaniel, age 85, of Alexander City, will be Friday at 11 a.m. from the chapel of Radley Funeral Home. Randy Anderson and Dr. Josh Salmons officiating. Burial in the Hillview Memorial Park. The family will receive friends Friday, 9:30 to 10:30 at the funeral home. Mr. McDaniel passed away September 14th at his residence. He was a member of the Rocky Creek Baptist Church. In lieu of flowers, a family requests memorial contribution be made to a charity of one's choice. Memorial messages can be sent to the family at radleyfuneralhome.com. Radley Funeral Home directing. Funeral service for Mr. Howell Timothy Tim Dark, age 68, of Alexander City, will be today at 2 o'clock from the chapel of Radley Funeral Home. Reverend Mike Jackson and Dr. John Watkins officiating. Private burial to follow in Kelladon Memory Garden. The family receiving friends today, noon until service time at the funeral home. Mr. Dark died September 13th at his residence. He was a member of the Kelladon First United Methodist Church. In lieu of flowers, the family request donation be made to the Smile Train Fund at Kelladon First United Methodist Church, P.O. Box 279, Kelladon 35089. Memorial messages can be sent to the family at radleyfuneralhome.com. Radley Funeral Home directing. And Mr. Bradley Stephen Salter died Saturday, September 12th at his residence. Memorial message can be sent to the family at radleyfuneralhome.com. Radley Funeral Home in Alexander City in charge of the arrangements. This obituary report this morning brought to you by Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg. For pre-need funerals, burials, and cremations since 1975, Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.